Good morning. We're going to start this morning with our morning bell.
Bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, the method of the full awareness of breathing, if developed and practiced continuously, will bring great rewards and advantages. It will lead to success in practicing the 4 establishments of mindfulness and the 7 factors of awakening, which will give rise to understanding and liberation. One practices as follows. The first breath, breathing in a long breath. I know that I am breathing in a long breath. Breathing out a long breath. I know that I am breathing out a long breath. The second breath, breathing in a short breath. I know that I am breathing in a short breath. Breathing out a short breath. I know that I am breathing out a short breath. These 2 breaths enable you to cut through forgetfulness and unnecessary thinking, at the same time giving rise to mindfulness, enabling you to encounter life in the present moment. Forgetfulness is the absence of mindfulness. Breathing with awareness enables us to return to ourselves and to life. The third breath. Breathing in, I am aware of my whole body. Breathing out, I am aware of my whole body. This breath enables you to contemplate the body and be in direct contact with your own body. Awareness of the whole body and awareness of every part of the body allows you to see the wondrous presence of your body and the process of birth and death unfolding in your body. The fourth breath. I am breathing in and making my whole body calm and at peace. I am breathing out and making my whole body calm and at peace. This breath helps you realize calmness and peace in the body and arrive at a state of mind, body, and breath are harmonious whole. The fifth breath. I am breathing in and feeling joyful. I am breathing out and feeling joyful. The sixth breath. I am breathing in and feeling happy. I am breathing out and feeling happy. With these 2 breaths, you cross into the domain of feelings. These 2 breaths create peace and joy that can nourish mind and body. Thanks to the cessation of dispersion and forgetfulness, you return to yourself aware of the present moment. Happiness and joy arise within you. You dwell in the wonders of life, able to taste the peace and joy mindfulness brings. Thanks to this encounter with the wonders of life, you are able to transform neutral feelings into pleasant feelings. These 2 breaths thus lead to pleasant feelings. The seventh breath. I am breathing in and aware of the activities of the mind in me. I am breathing out and aware of the activities of the mind in me. The eighth breath. I am breathing in and making the activities of the mind in me calm and at peace. I am breathing out and making the activities of the mind in me calm and at peace. These 2 breaths enable you to look deeply at all the feelings arising within you, whether they are pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, and enable you to make those feelings calm and at peace. The activities of the mind means, in this case, the feelings. When you are aware of your feelings, you can see deeply into their roots and nature. You can control them and make them calm and at peace, even though they may be unpleasant thoughts which arise from desire, anger, and jealousy. The ninth breath. I am breathing in and I'm aware of my mind. I am breathing out and I'm aware of my mind. The 10th breath. I am breathing in and I'm making my mind happy and at peace. I am breathing out and making my mind happy and at peace. The 11th breath. I am breathing in and concentrating my mind. I am breathing out and concentrating my mind. The 12th breath. I am breathing in and liberating my mind. I am breathing out and liberating my mind. With these 4 breaths, you pass into the 3rd domain, which is mind. The 9th breath enables you to recognize all the states of the mind, such as perceptions, thinking, discrimination, happiness, sadness, and doubt. You recognize and observe these states in order to see deeply into the mind's activities. When the mind's activities are observed and recognized, you are able to concentrate your mind, making it quiet and at peace. This is brought about by the 10th and 11th breaths. The 12th breath enables you to release all obstacles of the mind. Thanks to illuminating your mind, you can see the roots of all mental formations and thus overcome all obstacles. The 13th breath. I am breathing in and observing the impermanent nature of all Dharma. I am breathing out and observing the impermanent nature of all Dharma. The 14th breath. I am breathing in and observing the fading of all Dharma. I am breathing out and observing the fading of all Dharma. The 15th breath. I am breathing in and contemplating liberation. I am breathing out and contemplating liberation. The 16th breath. I am breathing in and contemplating letting go. I am breathing out and contemplating letting go. With these 4 breaths, the practitioner passes into the domain of objects of the mind and concentrates the mind in order to observe the true nature of all Dharma. First is the observation of the impermanent nature of all Dharmas. Because all Dharmas are impermanent, they all must fade. When you clearly understand the impermanent and fading nature of all Dharmas, you are no longer bound by the endless cycle of birth and death. Thanks to that, you can let go and attain liberation. Letting go does not mean disdaining or running away from life. Letting go means letting go of craving and clinging so that you do not suffer from the endless cycle of birth and death to which all dharmas are subject. Once you let go and attain liberation, you can live in peace and joy in the very midst of life. There is no longer anything which can bind you. So taught the Buddha how to observe deeply the body, feelings, mind, and objects of the mind through 16 methods of conscious breathing. He also applied the 16 exercises to practicing the 7 factors of awakening, which are full attention, investigating Dharma, energy, joy, ease, concentration, and letting go.
The incense gatha lighting is on page 2 in your chant books. In gratitude, we offer this incense throughout space and time to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting careful efforts, wholehearted awareness, and the fruit of understanding slowly ripening. May we and all beings be companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awaken from forgetfulness and realize our true home. We bow. Good morning. Great to see so many people here on a wintry day. Thank you for joining us for our Preceptor Ordination ceremony today. A few announcements to start. If you're new to the temple, the restrooms are located through the curtain to my left, and also there are basement restrooms downstairs. If you need to get up during the service, please walk around the back of the Dharma hall. We'll be trying to tell you what we're going to be doing each step of the way, so we invite you, encourage you to join with us. We'll be chanting from our chant books. If you're chanting, just try to chant loud enough so you can hear yourself, not so loud that you drown out everyone else, because we're trying to chant in unison. So with that, I invite everyone to stand up and greet each other silently with bows. And if you turn your chant book to page 3, we'll chant the 3 refuges together. I go for refuge to Buddha, my deeply awakened mind, the living source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Dharma, the path of mindful living, leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to the Sangha, the loving and supportive community of practice, realizing harmony, awareness, and liberation, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I am aware of the 3 jewels within my heart. I vow to realize them. I vow to practice mindful breathing and smiling, looking deeply into things. I vow to understand living beings and their suffering. I vow to cultivate loving kindness and compassion, and to practice joy and equanimity. I vow to offer joy to one person in the morning, and to help relieve the grief of one person in the afternoon. I vow to live simply and sanely, content with few possessions, and to keep my body healthy. I vow to let go of all worry and anxiety in order to be light and free. I am aware that I owe so much to my parents, teachers, friends, and all beings. I vow to be worthy of their trust, to practice wholeheartedly, so that understanding and compassion will flower, and I can help living beings be free from their suffering. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. We bow. So if you look on page 4, we'll chant the Heart Sutra together. Prajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra. The Bodhisattva of great compassion
from the deep practice of prajna, paramita, perceived the emptiness of all five skandhas, and delivered all beings from their suffering. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is emptiness, emptiness form. The same is true of feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness. O Shariputra, all dharmas are empty. They are not born nor annihilated. They are not defiled nor immaculate. They do not increase nor decrease. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling, no thought, no impulse, no consciousness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. No form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or objects of mind. No realm of sight. No realm of consciousness. No ignorance, nor extinction of ignorance. No old age and death, nor extinction of them. No suffering, no cause of suffering, no cease from suffering, no path to lead out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but prajna, paramita. Therefore the mind is clear of any delusive hindrance. Without hindrance there is no fear. Away from all delusive views, one reaches final nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future, through faith in prajna, paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know then the prajna, paramita, is the great Dharani, the radiant fearless mantram, the utmost supreme mantram, which is capable of allaying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the prajna, paramita. Gate, gate, aragate, arasamgate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, aragate, arasamgate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, aragate, arasamgate, bodhisvaha. Dhamma prajna paramita hridaya sutra.
Please take your seats.
Morning. My name is Kunga Nyima. I'm senior Dharma teaching monk here at the temple, and happy to be facilitating the Preceptor Ordination this morning. The preceptors have been putting in a lot of hard work for the last few months. Their program started back in September, and since that first meeting, they've been coming to temple service every Sunday at 8:30 to clean the temple, participate in education and discussion, and then every other Sunday to actually have a preceptor meeting. They've also been reading several texts, the Dhammapada and the Heart of the Buddhist Teachings. They've been keeping a daily journal to write about their thoughts about what they've been reading in their practice in everyday life. But they've been trying to maintain a daily meditation practice, memorize some of the morning chants that we do here at the services. So it's a pretty involved activity. And they've been doing this, basically every day since September. So September, October, November, 3 months of practice. And at the end of that practice, we have this ceremony for them in which they receive the gift of the precepts. We'll do a 5 precept chant today, so you'll get a little bit more detail about that, and each of the Dharma teachers here will also talk a little bit about that as well. So we'll go ahead and jump right into that. I'm going to be talking about the first precept. This is the precept to abstain from killing. Originally, Sun Shin was going to talk about that precept, but when we rescheduled the service because of the snow, he had other plans. So I have a talk that I'm going to give in their stead, and I thought that it would be interesting to give it from the Soto perspective, as Sun Shin practices Soto Zen. So one of my favorite Soto writers is Brad Warner. I spoke about one of his books, Don't Be a Jerk, a few Sundays ago. And he wrote a book called The Other Side of Nothingness, Zen Ethics on Time, Space, and Being. And he devotes a chapter of that book to the first precept. So in that chapter, he gives a kind of a long quote from a Soto Zen priest, Dainin Katagiri. And it's from his book, Each Moment is the Universe. So I'll read that quote to start. The Buddhist precept that tells you not to kill doesn't just mean not to physically kill people or animals. If you deeply understand the meaning of the precept of not killing life, you know that not killing the life of the table means that not handling the table according to an egotistic view that separates you from the table. Not killing life means to see the table as it really is and handle the table as a manifestation of eternal time, where there is no gap between subject and object. This is to animate the life of the table as Buddha. How can you do this? As much as possible, try to handle the table as something more than an object in the realm of 12 hours. Handle the table wholeheartedly, with compassion and kindness. At that time, practice comes up very naturally, just like water from an underground spring, and this practice deepens and develops your life. When I told my wife I was going to read this quote, she said, "Treat a table with compassion." What are you talking about? So, when I was in graduate school getting my art degree, I had a friend who was a sculptor, and for their thesis show, they had a wooden chair. And when you first came in to see the chair, it just looked like a perfectly ordinary, nicely fabricated wooden chair. But as you walked around the chair, you realized that essential parts of the chair were completely missing. So it was not functional as a chair at all. It became a piece of sculpture. It became more abstract as you walked around it. So there's this idea that in Buddhism, we talk about things being empty, meaning things don't have an inherent existence until we label it. So it was when we first see that chair, it's like, oh, obviously that's the chair. But But as we walked around and we noticed that parts of the chair were missing because of the perspective, things were covered up from one perspective were revealed in another. It wasn't a chair. It was really a piece of art. You couldn't function as a chair in any way. And it kind of brought up this idea of the chair's emptiness. So when I was thinking about this idea of treating table or other pieces of furniture, inanimate objects with compassion, one of the things that made me think about was Thich Nhat Hanh's example, which I gave in my last talk about picking up a piece of paper. I think I talked about, looking at our meal and thinking about where our meal came from. If you look at a table or a chair and you start to think about where did it come from? How did it come to be here? Where did the materials come from? What was it made from? How did those materials come into existence? Appreciating this interdependence of this table with all of reality, and even with you, becomes a way to see that table with compassion. A way to understand that and appreciate that table on a deeper level than normally just thinking of it as something to throw things on or something to sit at. Okay? So I just think that's what I wanted to say about that first precept, the vow to abstain from killing living things. Thank you. So I'm going to give the mic here to Brian. Talk about the second precept.
Hello. Is this loud? The second precept. I undertake the training rule not to take that which is not given. So there's an old Japanese saying, a rule against stealing is useless to an honest man. I think the second precept does a lot there. Most of us aren't, thieves by the general concept of the term. We're not out taking things, other people's things. So what does it mean for these preceptors to follow that precept? And that's something they work with and journal about and think about. And I think it's a good guidepost to see where we are in our practice. Because as you sit with the precept, it gets deeper. It has a lot more meaning. Taking that which is not given. Are you taking the joy from someone? Are you taking being part of our society? You can't exist without taking in some way. And so how do we do that skillfully? How do we do that mindfully? And that's part of what we're doing here as preceptors. And this ceremony doesn't mean that yesterday they were taking and tomorrow they won't be. It's a path, it's a thought process, it's how do we understand it? Something they're already doing in a way that they understand it. And so here, this isn't necessarily for them. This is for everyone to see that they are moving along in the path, that they are accepting this, and that they are trying to understand their taking and moving forward with it.
So like I said, when I did the first precept, I was just filling in. So this is my real talk. So I'm going to be talking about the third precept, to abstain from sexual misconduct. When I spoke about the precept a couple months ago, I shared a story about the first rule that was made for the monks when they entered when they're being ordained, and this rule had to do with abstaining from sexual misconduct. The story goes that the Buddha would make rules as things were done that made people in the Sangha uncomfortable. Like, well, that wasn't quite right. What they did there, hurt other people or hurt themselves. So we need to make a rule, so other people could learn from that mistake. So this is the very first rule made by the Buddha. And the story was that one of the Buddha's disciples returned home during a time of famine, because it was more likely that he could get alms and things from his home where people knew him. And while he was home there, his mother requested that he have sexual relations with his former wife, so that there will be someone to inherit his father's property, because his wife wouldn't inherit it. But if he had an heir, like a male son, then they could inherit it. So he went ahead and did that and slept with his wife And then that came back to the Sangha, and also he himself felt like this was not something he should have done. So this is where the idea of, with the monks in the Sangha, was to abstain from all sexual relations. So when we talk about it with the preceptors, because we're householders, we're talking about refrain from sexual misconduct. So the difference there is that the householders is an ancient term used to refer to people who were followers of the Buddha's way, but were not monastics. You know, these were so I have to make a distinction here between the monks that we have in our temple are all householders. You know, because we're participating in our regular everyday life as well. The idea with the first Sangha was one of the important ways to practice Buddhism was to follow the exact same path as the Buddha. So the Buddha left home, renounced everything, and lived on alms. Only owned 3 robes and a bowl. So the early monks, the early Sangha, was based on that. You know, and that's a very important way to follow the Buddhist practice, but that's not the only way. I mean, there is a famous sutra called the Holy Teachings of Vilamakirti. And Vilamakirti was a householder who was much more spiritually advanced than many of the Buddha's disciples and even some of the bodhisattvas. The story goes that Vilamakirti was sick, and the Buddha said to his disciples, go visit him, but none of them wanted to visit him because they had remembered some time where they had met him in the past, and he had showed them that their understanding of the teaching was lacking, you know, and they were embarrassed, so they didn't want to go see him. So Vimalakirti was a householder. He was a business person. They had a family. They had children. They would go to bars and other places where the Dharma was not being practiced just to spread the Dharma. So that's sort of a model for us as householders. You know, we too can, you know, follow the spiritual path without giving up everything and just becoming a monk. You know, we can use our daily life, our life with our family, our romantic relationships to advance our spiritual practice. We can think of our relationships as a microcosm of the real world, you know, where through heartbreak, through old age, through sickness, through death, we're experiencing suffering in those relationships. So that's another way for us to build our understanding of the path and to come to an awakening about suffering and the way beyond suffering. So I just encourage you with that. You don't need to abstain completely from all romantic relationships, and that actually can be a benefit to your spiritual practice to try to develop a family, because you can think about how all the relationships within our families, you know, how much more difficult those can be than relationships with strangers, you know, as far as developing ourselves and developing our patience and our compassion and so on. Thank you. Now this gives us to Musho.
The 4th precept. I have the 4th precept, as Kunga had said, to undertake the training to refrain from false or harmful speech. This precept is often framed as like, to not lie, no false speech. But it's a lot deeper than that. It's a derivative of the 3rd step on the Eightfold Path, which is right speech or skillful speech. And sort of some of the outline or guideline for skillful speech is what I'm about to say true? Can it be said in a kind way? And is it beneficial? Is it timely? Is it the right time for me to speak what I'm going to speak? And can it be said with a mind of goodwill? I've spoke about this precept the last couple of years, and this year I even gave a talk on it. And in the past, I had said, or I had focused on what is speech, because speech can be so many different things. You know, we don't think about some of the things that it can be. Our body language, it can be laughter. You know, depending on whether that's good laughter or laughter possibly at the expense of someone else. It can be silence. Silence can be sort of weaponized in some instances and used to hurt people. It can be one of the most important things, I think, speech is our inner dialogue. This is probably the speech we hear most throughout the day and throughout our lives, is the speech that we're directing at ourselves, and it's not even uttered, but it's in our own mind. And it can be deep listening, as Thich Nhat Hanh likes to point out. So for me, I think listening is a really big part of speech. As Thich Nhat Hanh says in the 5 mindfulness trainings, loving speech and deep listening, aware of the suffering caused by unmindful speech and the inability to listen to others. I'm committed to cultivating loving speech and compassionate listening in order to relieve suffering and to promote reconciliation and peace in myself and among other people. So that's a really beautiful way to look at the 4th precept. This year in my talk, I decided to go at it from kind of a different angle. This was the talk that I had maybe a month or so ago. And it wasn't so much a what is speech, but I decided to focus more on the truth a little bit, if you all heard that one that I gave. But what is truth? Many times we think that let me say that the truth is the truth is the truth. I don't want to muddy the water. There's enough muddying the water of the truth, right? There is true and there is not true, and I really don't want to muddy the water anymore, because we live in a society that water is already entirely muddy. But there is to say, what is our truth? That is, oftentimes what we think is the truth may not be the truth. It's the truth that is from our perception, from what has gone in to make us who we are at that present moment. So it's everything that's come together in the way that we perceive the world, and we decide that is the true thing. But as we all know, in today's society, someone else can believe in a truth that's just as much the truth, because they have had causes and conditions. They have had come from a place and had, here it says, let me see, based on their views, traditions, preferences, or the notes that I wrote. And that goes into, or it can lead into, what we see is the truth. So my suggestion during my talk, and what I would say to you all, is that yes, the truth is the truth, but hold the truth with an open hand. Don't cling to it too tightly, because that's where we can begin to cause suffering for ourselves and others. The Shin Ming says, if you wish to know the truth, hold to no opinions for or against anything. So that's maybe just a contemplation for you all. And lastly, I would say, remember, it's important to understand that the precepts, not just the 4th precept, but all of them, are not rules to be blindly followed, but guidelines for acting and living in a compassionate life, acting compassionately and living a compassionate life.
So the 5th precept. There's a lot of different ways that the 5th precept is phrased. The one I like to think of is not to give yourself up to drink and intoxicants, and to practice mindful consumption. What does this mean? Well, first is the obvious. Drinking to intoxication, probably something you want to do less of, or not at all. Because the other precepts are hard enough to follow, much less when you're hammered or stoned, right? Right speech. Good luck. Yeah. So that's the first practical matter, right? It's like a fence that protects the other precepts. But more than that, it's really about mindful consumption. It's that choosing to consume thing, whether it be food or drink or social media or AI cat videos, whatever it is. Choosing to consume things that are good for you, and don't consume things that are bad for you. Don't read hours of doom scrolling and rage bait all this stuff. That's not doing anybody any good, least of all you, right? And so it's really mindfully looking at the things that you are putting in your senses, the music you listen to, okay, the things that you read, the things that you watch on TV, right? It's all of that has an effect. It's like you can't go out and like eat poison berries, and I'm like, oh, I didn't want to feel bad, right? I mean, eating poison berries is going to make you sick or something. Watching the wrong kind of things and reading the wrong things, it's going to do the same thing for your mind and your mood and everything else. So it's really approaching your consumption in all of these things in a way that's healthy, and not to take false refuge. If you want to take refuge in something, there's the Dharma. Don't take refuge in drink or refuge in distraction or at the 10th hour of Call of Duty, right? Give it a break, right? Just escaping where you're at because you're not happy with what's going on by diving into something that's just pure distraction or not very helpful. Is that? So that's some of my guidelines on the fifth precept.
Okay, so now we're going to work with the preceptors. I'd like to have all the preceptors please stand. So we know that none of our preceptors went through this program by themselves. Just like all of us, they're part of an interdependent net of people and things and circumstances that kind of brought them to this point to receive the precept at this time. So as a way to acknowledge all the supports that they had in order to make it to this point, I'm going to have them do some deep bows. So in Buddhism, we often do deep bows to show place to take refuge into the places that support us. And so today we're going to do 4 bows. They're going to bow facing the street as an indication of all that in the community, from their family and friends that supported them. Then they're going to turn to face the camera there and the back of the Sangha, just say to thank you for your support to them. They're going to face to the door there, just as a way to thanking themselves for coming in here and thanking each other for supporting each other in the practice. And then lastly, they're going to face the dais here and just bow to show the refuge in the teachers and the support that the teachers provide them along this path. And Musho is going to chime this little bell to let them know when to bow in each of the directions.
Can you all slide down, please, so that we can have all the preceptors sort of centered in front? Will you announce what
Yep.
you're bowing
Yep.
for this
Yes.
particular time?
So please face towards the street, and we're going to do a deep bow to families and friends.
I will give a roll down on the evening if you guys know how that works. It's a roll down and then you get the distinct ring and then you'll bow on the distinct ring.
And now please face to the camera and make a deep bow to the Sangha. Then turn to the right, make a deep bow to the front door. And towards the dais. Thank you. We are now going to chant together the 5 mindfulness trainings. So preceptors, you might want to grab your chant books and then come back here. And this is on page 12 in your chant book. Yes, I invite everyone to chant along with us. Reverence for life, aware of the suffering caused by the destruction of life, I am committed to cultivating the insight of inner being and compassion and learning ways to protect the lives of people, animals, plants, and minerals. I am determined not to kill, not to let others kill, and to not support any act of killing in the world, in my thinking, or in my way of life. Seeing that harmful actions arise from anger, fear, greed, and intolerance, which in turn come from dualistic and discriminative thinking, I will cultivate openness, non-discrimination, and non-attachment to views in order to transform violence, fanaticism, and dogmatism, myself and in the world. True happiness, aware of the suffering caused by exploitation, social injustice, stealing, and oppression. I am committed to practicing generosity in my thinking, speaking, and acting. I am determined not to steal and not to possess anything that should belong to others. And I will share my time, energy, and material resources with those who are in need. I will practice looking deeply to see that the happiness and suffering of others are not separate from my own happiness and suffering. And true happiness is not possible without understanding and compassion, and that running after wealth, fame, power, and essential pleasures can bring much suffering and despair. I am aware that happiness depends on my mental attitude and not on external conditions, that I can live happily in the present moment simply by remembering that I already have more than enough conditions to be happy. I am committed to practicing right livelihood so I can help reduce the suffering of living beings on earth and stop contributing to climate change. True love, aware of the suffering caused by sexual misconduct, I am committed to cultivating responsibility and learning ways to protect the safety and integrity of individuals, couples, families, and society, knowing that sexual desire is not love and that sexual activity motivated by craving always harms myself as well as others. I am determined not to engage in sexual relations without true love and a deep long-term commitment made known to my family and friends. I will do everything in my power to protect children from sexual abuse and to prevent couples and families from being broken by sexual misconduct. Seeing that body and mind are one, I am committed to learning appropriate ways to take care of my sexual energy and cultivating loving kindness, compassion, joy, and inclusiveness, which are the four basic elements of true love, for my greater happiness and the greater happiness of others. Practicing true love, we know that we will continue beautifully into the future. Loving speech and deep listening, aware of the suffering caused by unmindful speech and the inability to listen to others. I am committed to cultivating loving speech and compassionate listening in order to relieve suffering and to promote reconciliation and peace in myself and among other people, ethnic and religious groups and nations. Knowing that words can create happiness or suffering, I am committed to speaking truthfully, using words that inspire confidence, joy, and hope. When anger is manifested in me, I am determined not to speak. I will practice mindful breathing and walking in order to recognize and look deeply into my anger. I know that the roots of anger can be found in my wrong perceptions and lack of understanding of the suffering in myself and in the other person. I will speak and listen in a way that can help me and the other person to transform suffering, see the way out of difficult situations. I am determined not to spread news that I do not know to be certain, and not to utter words that can cause division or discord. I will practice right diligence to nurture my capacity for understanding, truthfulness, and gradually transform the anger, violence, and fear that lie deep in my consciousness. Nourishment and healing. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful consumption, I am committed to cultivating good health, both physical and mental, for myself, my family, and my society. By practicing mindful eating, drinking, and consuming, I will practice looking deeply into how I consume the 4 kinds of nutriments, namely edible foods, sense impressions, volitions, and consciousness. I am determined not to use alcohol, drugs, or any other product that would contain toxins, such as certain websites, electronic games, TV programs, films, magazines, books, and conversations. I will practice coming back to the present moment to be in touch with the refreshing, healing, and nourishing elements in me and around me, not letting regret and sorrow drag me back into the past, or letting anxiety, fear, or craving pull me out of the present moment. I am determined not to try to cover up loneliness, anxiety, or other suffering by losing myself in consumption. I will contemplate inner being and consume in a way that preserves peace, joy, and well-being in my body and consciousness, and in the collective body and consciousness of my family, my society, and the earth. You bow. Preceptors remain standing. And for these accepting of the preceptor vows, anybody in the Sangha who would like to accept the vows, you're invited to say we accept them when the preceptor says them. Preceptors, will you accept the gift of these precepts? We accept them. Please take your seats. So this next part of the ceremony is, I think, the most part of the exciting part of the ceremony for the preceptors is they receive a Dharma name. So this is an ancient tradition that when you take the precepts, then you receive also a spiritual name that the teachers feel like would be something that's inspirational for your practice. So these preceptors were all writing journals this whole time they've been doing through the precepts, and we've been reading them and commenting on them. And then based on what they've been writing about their journals and what they talk about in their groups, we tried to come up with these Sanskrit names, which we felt would be inspirational to their practices. And traditionally, these names have 3 meanings. So the first meaning is just the English translation of the Sanskrit, what it actually means. And then the second meaning is, the meaning that we felt like the reason we chose it for the preceptor. And then the third meaning, the secret meaning, is the meaning that the preceptor just discovers through their practice, through relating to that name. So my own Dharma name, Kunga Nyima, means all joy sun. My name is Tibetan because I was practicing with a Shambhala, which is a Tibetan form of Buddhism, when I received my Dharma name. So I'm going to invite each person up here, and we're going to give them a precept thread. So what this is it's a yellow sort of saffron colored string or thread, and we're going to put that around their wrist 3 times for the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and then tie it with a knot. And the idea is that they'll just wear that as a reminder of the precepts until it falls off through impermanence. And then we're also going to be giving them a stole, these white stoles we have here. And each stole has images on it of the 8 auspicious symbols. So you have to look at them close to see what they are. But these were the symbols that miraculously appeared when the Buddha attained enlightenment. there are some stories that say that these symbols were gifts from the gods to the Buddha. And we talked about in our retreat how these symbols can also be a way to help us remember how to follow the Eightfold Path, with each one of the symbols having a relationship to part of the path. And then the last thing they'll receive are malas. So those are the wooden prayer beads. We use them for counting mala runs, counting recitations. So the very end of our Heart Sutra, we say, Gate, Gate, Para, Gate, Parasam, Gate, Bodhi, Swaha. So that's like a recitation you might use in a mala round. Or you might, so you would usually in Tibetan, they're used a lot in Tibetan Buddhism, we're trying to accumulate like 100,000 mantras on different things, as a way to kind of build your dedication, your devotion. So I'm going to invite each preceptor to come up here. I'll say your name. Matt, please stand up. And please kind of stand on my side here and then face the Sangha. This is Matt Plesher. Okay. And Chungusu, you want to go ahead and start putting on the thread? So Matt's Dharma name is Virate Thiti Marga. Now, all of the Dharma students, the preceptors, have the same last name, Marga, which means path. So one of their meetings, toward the end of it, we give them a selection of Sanskrit words, and they can choose which one they would like to all share as kind of a common last name. So his name is Virate Thiti Marga, and it means disciplined practice path. Please have a seat. Oh, right. Eric Rash, please stand up. Eric's Dharma name is Samya Gejiva Marga. And this means right livelihood path. I think if you put your finger on his wrist, you can tie it tight to your finger, and then that'll be in your other hand. And then that way it won't be too tight or too loose. So just put your finger on like in between all three, and then you can tie it tight to your finger. Oh, here you go. Sean Green. Sean, if you could put your finger here, and then he'll tie it or wrap it around your finger. Yeah. And Sean's name is Samyak Smrti Marga, right mindfulness path. Go, Sean. Kimberly Wellington. Kimberly's Dharma name is Prajna Samga Mamarga, which means wise contact path. David May. David's Dharma name is Dharma Nadi Marga, Dharma River Path. Judith Rodnick. Judith's Dharma name is Jala Taranga Marga. I give them a little piece of paper to tell them how to pronounce it.
It's part of their ongoing practice. Figure that out.
And her Dharma means water. Her Dharma name means water wave path. Philip Barnard. Philip's Dharma name is Aam Prama Marga, which means cultivating selfless love path. Cultivating selfless love path. We did have one preceptor who completed the program but moved to North Carolina a couple weeks ago, Nilson Rodriguez. And Nilson's name is Na Bodhi Marga, No Enlightenment Path. So I will mail his certificate to him. He's, we can give him a little clap. All right. So before we end service today, I would like to go ahead and do joys and concerns. So joys and concerns is something we do at the end of every service. It's an opportunity for us to share something beneficial that's going on in our life with the Sangha, or if we're having a challenge and we want to share that. It's an opportunity for us as the Sangha to participate in equanimity, and appreciate that everyone like us is going through suffering and challenging in their life, but everyone is also experiencing joy and happiness. And when others are experiencing joy and happiness, we can share in that experience of theirs. And when others are experiencing suffering or difficulties, we can also send compassionate thoughts their way and understand what that feels like. So if you would have a joy or concern you would like to share, just raise your hand. And maybe Chungo Su, could you take the mic around? Thanks.
Mike. My name is Brenda, and I'm very grateful for the temple and the teachings and the ceremony today. When I started coming here, we had about 15 people, and so I'm very grateful for the growth in this temple. Thank you.
I will share a concern that I have. I have a coworker at work whose son was involved in a car accident this past Saturday, not yesterday, but the week before. I think during the first snowstorm that we had. And he's okay, but spent some time in the hospital, did have a broken leg, required surgery with pins and things like that. And was in quite a bit of pain and was still dealing with some of that. I think on Friday was my last day at work, was the day that he finally came home from the hospital. And so my concern is for that. But also, as we move into this season, right, there's a lot of car accidents and a lot of folks out there that are injured from the snow and ice. And so let's keep those people in our thoughts.
Good morning, Sangha. Deeply grateful and joyful for my ordination this morning. I guess that's what we call it, right? And very, very grateful and joyful that all my friends are in the back row. And it's a Damien and Dolly first time in a Buddhist temple. Maybe everybody else is too, except Deb. But anyway, so happy that everybody made it safe and we have such a good community.
I'll go quick. It's been such a joy to work with these preceptors. Thank you all for doing this and for allowing me to be part of it and experience your practice. And it's been a lot of fun to see all. It's just I love the Sangha. I love it growing, and you guys have been great. All your different insights and making me think about things that I hadn't in ways before. So thank you. It's been so great to do this.
Good morning, Sangha. My name is Shane, and my Dharma name is Jueshin Su. I have one concern and a couple joys. The concern I want to start with is I'm having some weird issues at work, and I just want to get those to be resolved. I'm not sure what's going on, but I was asked to leave on Saturday and have a meeting with my management team Monday, so that's interesting. So I just don't know what's going on, but hopefully it's just that I work too many hours. Anyways, for my joy, I'm really grateful to be here with all the preceptors and seeing this. I've known many of them for some time and just met some of them this year. And it is a great honor to have more preceptors coming through the temple, having so many friends and family and the community joining us. It's a beautiful ceremony. So thank you.
I'd like to share joy. For the last couple of weeks, I've been following 20 Buddhist monks and their dog Loki as they travel from a Buddhist temple in Texas, and they are walking to Washington. And it's a peace march. And regrettably, about a week ago, fairly early into their journey, they had a car in back of them, the 20 of them, and they walked day and night barefoot. I mean, it's really incredible to watch their dedication. They had a car in back of them, kind of a supply car, support car, and somebody hit that car and pushed it into the car that was following them. The last monk in the line lost his leg. He just had his leg amputated. But what's really interesting is that they decided that they were going to continue. So it's just daily I follow them. It's called Walk for Peace. And as I said, now they're in Louisiana and they're going to continue their walk to Washington. And I think it's a great example for us for what we believe in and social active Buddhism, socially active Buddhism. So wanted to share that. Walk for Peace.
Good morning, Sangha. Today's joy is for all the preceptors. Congratulations, this is super amazing. I'm really honored to be here on your journey, right, to be able to witness this. It's really exciting time. I'm grateful or joyful for a few other things. That my name is a little bit easier to say than your name. I'm really joyful that I have Dave, to watch Dave in his whole journey, and that he wanted this and he ended up seeing it through. And I have a fellow preceptor that lives below me now. That is super exciting, David. I just love you, brother. And then it means a lot, Corey and Nick, that you're here, man. You guys wanted this, and you guys were talking about it. And really wanted to honor David in this journey. So welcome to the temple. I'm really grateful that you guys are here.
Hi, everyone. I am really fortunate to be a teacher of current and future teachers. And my joy is just to lift up my students who are in finals week right now. And even though it's a lot of grading, I get to read the first research proposals of a lot of teachers who want to actually use their work and their research to uplift change for justice in their classrooms. And that's a really beautiful thing. So also the joy of witnessing the perseverance of teachers in December, because it is very real. So for all the teachers who are out there with our young people, I just thank you and lift up that joy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chungo Su, or Ashton Shaw. So inspired by all the preceptors and your dedication. Thank you so much for your practice. I'm involved in a resistance against a data center coming into Lowell, Michigan. That's where I live. And if you haven't heard about it, I would just encourage you to look into it, and any way that you can support or pass the information along, it's greatly appreciated. Thank you.
So this is from Amy. She's sharing joy. Very happy and grateful for the preceptors in the service today.
All right, so we're going to take a few minutes to, there is a Tibetan practice called Tonglen, and you breathe in traditional Tonglen, you breathe in suffering and breathe out happiness. But I invite you to breathe in the happiness if that's what you feel like you need today. And if you feel like you have space for the suffering, to breathe that in and then breathe out happiness. we bow? I just want to give the December announcements. We have an online meditation group that meets on Wednesdays. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that the meditation group won't meet the Wednesday right before Christmas on Thursday. So just so you're aware, we won't meet that day. We do have a Thursday Dharma discussion group, but when is the last meeting for that before the break for the winter?
2 left, I think.
Okay. So 2 more Thursdays,
Yeah.
and then it'll break and it'll restart.
It follows the school calendar, so whenever the schools break,
Okay.
which I think is 2 more Thursdays.
Okay. So just let Ryan know if you're interested in participating in that or need more information about that. You can let myself know if you're interested in the meditation group on Wednesdays. We have the Buddhist Mutual Aid Sangha. It meets on, looks like the second Sunday of the month. Is that correct? Or is it the first?
Yeah.
Second Sunday of the month. Okay. And that's after service, and it's also you can join that virtually too from 11:30 to 12:30. Just look on our newsletter for links to any of these events. The Grand Rapids Buddhist board meeting is on the 3rd Thursday of the month. You're invited to come and observe that if you'd like. In addition to having our preceptor potluck today after service, we're also, I believe, celebrating Bodhi Day. Is that right? We celebrating? So we're all thrown off by canceling last. We did last week virtually, and then everything got kind of rescheduled. But we are having a potluck today, and we hope you can join us for that. Even if you didn't bring anything, please come down. We have plenty of food there to share for everyone. Yes. And the preceptors, please don't leave after the end of closing chants, because we want to do a group photo with the preceptors. So at this time, I invite everyone to stand up. We'll do our closing gathas. This is in your chant book on page 6.
Skillful actions ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thoughts, now I atone for them all. Vast is the robe of compassion, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Buddha's teachings for the benefit of all sentient beings. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Endless blind passion, I vow to uproot. Dharma gates without number, I vow to enter. The great way of Buddha, I vow to attain.
Everyone face towards the center. We'll bow to each other. Thank you. Before you leave, kind of straighten up your cushion there. You'll be coming around to gather the chant from you. Just think about the space around your cushion, try and make it all neat and regular, like it was when you came in.